Hi everyone, so we just wanted to do a quick video to show you our early Christmas present to the van.
Which is a brand new gas tank.
Woo! Yay! So yeah, so if you watched our last van build, you'll have seen that we were talking about possibly upgrading it at Christmas, and that time has come and it has been done. So
as you can tell.
yes, he's in his Christmas jumper. So Brad's going to walk you through it because, you know, he did it whereas I didn't. So yeah, well, we'll get started.
Installing the gas system in our van was by far one of the most stressful parts of the entire build because we know nothing about gas. Well, we didn't. So we didn't know, how to store gas. We weren't sure which appliances we were going to use. We weren't sure on the safety behind installing gas. We didn't know how to find someone to check it. There's all these questions racing around. And obviously you want to do it right because, gas leak in your van.
It's not a good thing.
No. So, in the end, we have got a really awesome setup. It's just been signed off by someone from the MCEA, which in the UK means Motor Caravan Engineer Association.
Yes.
I think. So he's like gas safe registered, so he can do the test and whatnot to basically make sure it's all safe. So
after Brad talks you through all the technical stuff, I'm going to do the fun part and actually show you the stuff working, our actual gas appliances. So we'll start with Brad, then we'll come to me.
Let's head outside. Okay, so the big upgrade we've just made is installing a gas tank under the van. Before, if you've been following our van tour or our series through Scotland, we used to have a tank right inside and it took up so much space. Also, it couldn't be refilled. You had to exchange canisters, which is really expensive and really hard to do in Europe. This new system means we can just go to a local LPG station, plug it straight in and top up. Let's take a look.
Down you go.
So, by the way, this took a couple days to install properly. So there it is. This is a 25 litre LPG underslung tank. We got the entire system from a company called Autogas 2000. If you're in the UK, then definitely check them out. There it is. Everything about this tank has been custom designed for this van. So these brackets here, there's one of these on either side. If you see, they fit perfectly inside of the chassis rail. And there's one of those at the other side. And then this is a heat shield to protect it from the exhaust. You may think, or the exhaust silencer, you may think it's a little bit close, but this has been tested and approved, so it is 100% safe. And then on the right hand side here, this is the fuel hose. That comes out to here, to the fill point. This little cover here comes off, and then you simply go ahead and plug in an adapter from any petrol station that sells autogas. In Europe as well, it's exactly the same system, except for the adapters can be slightly different. So you need to pick up a pack of 3 because there's 3 different adapters which cover all countries. So yeah, that is back on there. Other side of the tank is the, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's where the gas comes out of. So that comes out of the tank and it goes to a regulator. You need a regulator so that it doesn't blow all your appliances basically in the van. So I'm not too sure exactly how powerful the gas comes out of this, but this is a 30 millibar regulator which then sends it through the suitable sort of pressure to all the appliances. If you're in America or Europe, you might need a different regulator. You might need like a 50 millibar one. In the UK, everything is typically 30 millibar, so bear that in mind when you buy one. This then is just standard 8mm copper pipe coated in plastic to protect it from sort of stone chips, and that just goes through underneath the van and into the cab to all the appliances. The only other thing to point out really is this conduit is protecting some cables that go to a remote fill sensor inside of the van. If I come under, I can actually show you quickly. So this just screws off. And then this is your fill level. If you look now, you'll see that it's at about, if it ever focuses, it's at about 65%. The reason for that is that you should never fill these to 100%. You only fill them to a maximum of 80%. Yep. So yeah, gas out, gas in. And as you can see, these cables coming off are what connect up to the remote sensor, and I'll show you that in a second. So the company that we bought our tank from is called Autogas 2000. They're based up in Thirsk, which is near Norfolk? North of England.
North of England.
Yeah. They are super helpful. I mean, the prices are about the same as we sort of seen for other companies supplying them, but what was really great was their customer service. They were really helpful. I actually we stopped in there on our way south from Scotland, and the guy in there gave me like an hour-long masterclass on how to install this thing, which was super helpful. So if you are passing by, then feel free to stop in, I guess, or maybe email them or call them. Their kits are really popular at the moment, so yeah, made to sort of buy in advance. The only thing left to do, actually, I've just seen this on the floor, is to spray it. So this is a stone chip shield. So you need to put this on there to basically stop the canister getting hit with stones and then water getting in and basically sort of breaking down the outside of the tank. So I'll probably do that after this. Maybe take my Christmas jumper off first. Yeah, so I've done that. That's the boring bit, or fun bit, how you look at it. Now Kaz is going to show you how stuff works inside of the van. Okay, before we do that, I'm going to quickly show you how the gas actually comes into the van. So, see that white copper pipe there? That is that's coming in from underneath the van. It goes through a sort of a shut-off valve. So if ever you're passing through on a ferry or whatnot and they require you to shut off your gas, you can do it all here from one solid point. So it goes through that, and then it comes up into this, which is a 3-way manifold. This is a massive upgrade for us. Again, if you've seen our videos before, we had some issues with our heater, and because of that, it messed up the entire system. Now, if there's any problems with just one part of your system, you can shut it off and you still use the other parts. Yeah, so gas comes into this thing, goes to our heater here, this goes to our hob/oven, and then this goes through to our water heater. And you can see it's all sort of fastened down with clips there and runs off. And it's all inside of a sealed chamber as well. So if ever there's a gas leak, it goes through the drop vent, which you can't quite see because it's too dark, but it's inside of a sealed chamber, so it never comes into the main living area, which is really important to bear in mind when you're designing it. You got to make sure that, you know, you got to plan for a worst case scenario, and gas always goes down. So as long as it's in a sealed cupboard and there's a vent in there, then you know gas is just going to leave under the van, which is really safe.
So since we got rid of our big gas tank inside, it has given us more space, which we actually really needed. So, I mean, this isn't organized yet, but now we have a whole cupboard extra to store pots and pans and more food stuff, which is perfect. So we have 3 appliances that run off our gas, and let's start with the best one, which is the air heater. So this is the control panel for it, but underneath that blue box that you've seen essentially in there, that is our air heater, and it follows through to come out these vents, so it keeps you nice and toasty. It's really easy. You just turn it on.
And this is the new digital thermostat they got.
Yeah, and you can hear it. So that's the noise level of it, which, well, I don't really notice it, but
I think it
sounds like on camera, I don't know.
I think it's a bit louder maybe than some others, I'm not too sure.
Maybe we're just used to it.
We have nothing to compare it to, so.
No. But yeah, so pretty good.
And it also, what you do is with it, you set the thermostat to whichever temperature you want. Yeah. So you don't want 30, you want Jesus. Like a hot box, you want 23 in here.
And once it hits that, it knocks off, and if the temperature drops, it restarts to maintain that temperature, which is pretty smart.
Yeah, and there's a thermostat actually built into this control panel, and that's what it registers the room temperature off. Mm-hmm. The only issue with our setup is that it's directly above the oven. So if you have the oven on, then this thinks that it's 40 degrees, so it switches off.
So it's not. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about our awesome oven, which is a Voyager 4500, and it is amazing having one of these in a van. So we have 2 hobs at the top here, which is very simply lit. You just press your little, what are these called? Sparkers?
Ignition.
Ignition, yeah, so we got that one as well.
Alright, you can stop clicking it.
Yeah. And then we also have a grill, which is this one, I believe. And it all operates the same. So can you see that blue flame in there?
Yeah, buddy.
Yep. So that's that, and then you have obviously the oven itself. Excuse the mess, it has been used, which is there. Let's get that lit up.
There it is.
There we go. And yeah, so you can adjust the temperature of this from like 1 till 8. But it is pretty powerful actually. I've never let it go above 4. The third and final appliance that we have running off our gas system is our Malaga water heater, which heats our water for dishes and our wonderful shower, which is here. Brad's going to take you through the technical parts of that outside, but this is the control panel for it here. And it's pretty good. You can run it off gas and electricity, so 230 volts. So you just pop these on. But I think, what's the time for gas?
It takes about like 25 minutes.
25
maybe
minutes, and it's quicker if you have both on. But obviously you're going to be using more power. So this is pretty easy to use. You just flick the switch. This will turn green when the gas has been ignited and it's starting to heat the water. And the Malaga holds 10 litres?
10 or 13 litres, I can't remember.
It's one of those, but it's a good amount. It's basically enough hot water to get the dishes done and the shower. But yeah, you can see, green light on.
So the air heater and the oven are up this part of the van and the water heater's down the other end. So I'm just going to show you how it works. Whoa, listen to that train. So, just wait for that to die down. Great. So, here is where our water heater is contained. It's in a sealed box because obviously if there is a gas leak, you don't want it entering into the cab. So, ta-da! I'll quickly talk you through the basics of how it works. So, as you can see, here's the gas feed coming in and then entering into the Malaga. This is our cold water feed, and then that is the hot water that comes out. So it stores, again, I can't remember, 10 to 13 litres, whatever it is, but once it's been given time to heat, it just simply pumps out at the temperature that you've let it heat to. We find that it's enough to do 2 quick showers and then a couple, sinkfuls of dishes. So it is a good size for 2 people. This here, these cables, one of these runs off to this control panel that we showed you up front, and the other one connects into the 230 volt box, which goes through this. And the other thing you need for a Malaga is a vent on the outside, which is what this bad boy is here. And when it's lit, you can actually see the flames. I don't know if it's still lit. Oh, you can just about see it still lit in there. Can you see those? See that burning and the flames are in there? And that is it heating the water up. We did find actually that if you're somewhere that is really, really windy, then it just keeps blowing out because obviously air gets sucked into it. That only happened to us once, and I think it's maybe the wind was blowing in a really unfortunate direction, I don't know. But if you just spin your van around, it should work okay. And then yeah, the other thing is that just there is a drop vent. So if there is a gas leak, which is going to happen at this joint, it goes through that hole there, it goes through this sealed tube and then out underneath the van. So again, everything is perfectly safe. So when I was under the van, I was saying about the fuel level indicator coming from the tank. This is where it's going to go. So this is the actual level indicator itself. I've not had time to install it just yet, but all the electrical cable is there. So this runs through with conduit underneath the whole van and comes up through the back. We have to run the red cable through our fuse box, which is right here. The black one will go to earth, which is the chassis of the van, and this green one will connect up to this yellow, which is literally just some sort of indicator transmitting whatever the fuel level is. If we had installed this when we were building the van, we probably would have put this back inside, but now it would be an absolute nightmare, cutting away all our beautiful cladding and whatnot. So we decided just to maybe put it back here, probably on this piece of wood here, because you don't need to know the fuel level every single day, but it'll be a lot easier to tell it from there than having to go underneath the van. Oh, I've just realised as well. So if you look down here, you can see that's our air heater and the ducting coming off of it. We have this secondary piece of ducting coming from it out into the back. The reason for that is to make sure that the garage area of the van is the same temperature as the front. So one of the big issues apparently with #vanlife is building up condensation inside of the van when you've got the heater going. And then that obviously leads to problems of like damp and whatnot, which you really do not want. Another big thing is, yeah, the bed getting all damp and then having to rip out the wood and change the mattress, which is just a nightmare. So this helps to keep the van at the same temperature throughout and stop that problem completely. So that's why it's there. You know, another really important part of your gas system is your water feed. We'll do a whole nother video on our water system because, I mean, it's a kind of complex topic on its own. So yeah, if you want to check that out, when it's done, I'll put a link in the description.
So now we're going to take you through some of the more important things to bear in mind when you're installing gas in your van.
Yeah, so number one is that everything has to be hard plumbed. So what that means is you can't use rubber hosing inside of a van. So if you had like a gas barbecue outside, then you could connect a gas, wherever it hose, from the regulator to the oven, and that's fine. But inside of a van, everything has to be made of copper pipe. Number two is that you're meant to use compression fittings as your joints. The first time we did this van, we used a lot of different joints from Screwfix, which are cheap, but they're not really the best ones you should use. The best thing you can do if you're from the UK is to head to a website called BES, and you can pick up Wade fittings from there. They're Wade, they're gas safe, they're actually meant for use in vans. They cost like a few quid more, but they're worth it and they're a lot beefier as well. So I recommend checking those out. One of the issues with our old system is that we started getting little leaks, and it was, it could well have been because of the not very good joints. So yeah. Similarly as well, make sure they're compression fittings. You can't solder joints inside of a van. So there seems to be a lot of like misinformation online about installing gas in a van. Everything I'm telling you is coming from our gas safe guy who is from the MCEA, which is...
So they're qualified.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. I mean, feel free to contact... So you're going to have to get everything gas checked anyway before you can legally drive it. You have to get it checked every 12 months, and it also really helps with insurance purposes. And also just for safety as well. So they'll come and do a gas test, and feel free to call up these people, ask them, and they'll tell you the same thing I'm telling you. Yeah. Number three is that if you're so any gas appliances inside of a van should ideally be within like a sealed locker. I mean, for our oven, there is a hole beneath the gas input. I mean, it's always going to be slightly more exposed, but the actual heater and the Malaga are in sealed boxes, so that if there was a leak coming out of them, it'll just drop straight underneath the van. If you checked out our old, maybe we can put a clip in here.
Yes, maybe I'll insert something here.
From our old gas system, is that it should be in a gas locker, so like a sealed box. So again, if the actual tank itself was to leak, it goes straight out underneath the van. One of the great things about having an underslung tank is that it just sort of takes away some more of those issues. So if you can afford to do it and you want to do it, I recommend it. I guess the other thing is just to make sure that all your pipes are really well fixed as well. So you can get little 8mm P-clips from different websites, and then you can make sure the pipe is securely pinned to different parts of the van, so that obviously if you're driving around and they're rattling, over time it's going to cause leaks. And after all the effort you went through to install it, just make sure do this step. Okay, so I guess the last thing to chat about is how much all this costs. That's what you really want to know. Yeah. It's not cheap, but it's definitely worth it. I think when it comes to buying appliances for your van, you kind of want to spend a little bit more and get a quality product. Otherwise, you're going to probably end up replacing it, or even worse, it may be unsafe. So with that in mind, first things first, the Malaga, we'll start with that. Top of the water heater, yeah.
Yes, that cost, well, we think it's between 400 and 500.
Yeah.
We think that's what it costs us.
Pounds. So if you're from the UK, that's what you'll pay. I don't know if you can get it in Europe or in America.
Possibly, but yeah, you would have to contact them. But yeah, so 400 or 500, can't remember the exact price. But yes, a pricey product, but definitely definitely worth it.
The other big one we seen was the Truma.
Yes.
And they have like they have a system that it includes your heating as well. So it works out a bit more expensive, but it means that everything comes in one unit. And you can also control it from a really cool panel, as well as like an app on your phone. So that's one to check out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the second one is our Provex HS 2000 air heater, which cost just for about £420 with the digital thermostat. Yes. So again, not the cheapest option in the world, but definitely a good quality product. It's been we've seen it recommended everywhere, so definitely worth it. If you're getting an LPG heater in the UK, it seems to be the go-to one. You can get diesel heaters. That seems to be a popular, cheaper option, but you can get these cheap people call them Chinese diesel heaters, which are like really cheap, like 70 quid. But I don't know if they're necessarily gas safe or if they meet regulations. But you can get a proper diesel heater, which is more than like £1,000. Yeah, really expensive. And I think they actually tap into your van's diesel supply, which is really handy. So it means that as long as you've got diesel in your van, you can heat. It's a lot easier to top up, basically. So I guess in that sense, this is actually a mid-range option if you're going from diesel heater to cheaper diesel heater. This is like midway, and worth every penny. And the third one is our Voyager 4500 oven. So I can't remember the exact price of this, but I'm pretty sure it's around £400, because the other big player in the ovens for motorhomes and camper vans is Dometic and Thetford. I think they do them too. They're really expensive. This one was definitely a cheaper option, but I done the reviews on it and turned out a lot of camper vans actually have them, and it is really, really, really good. And if you're doing a boat as well, you get like a gimbal system for the side of it, so you can use it in boats as well. Yeah, and we've had no issues with this little oven yet. It's done exactly what it says in the tin. It's a perfect little size, and yeah, I can't recommend it more. Okay, so as you can see here, there's a bed and there's a control panel, and this was completely intentional. So we wanted to be able to access everything to do with the van, all the important stuff such as the heater and the water heater, from bed. And this is basically to do with experience, because we were in a cold country before in a camper van, and we had to fight every morning who was going to actually open and put on the heater, because it was like over this direction. So we knew, so we knew that when we had our own van, everything would be within reaching distance. So that's why this is like this. And honestly, it is perfect, and there's definitely no arguments over staying warm. Okay, so just a few quick safety checks when you're working with gas. You need to have a carbon monoxide alarm. Obviously, these are really cheap. You can get them anywhere, you can get them online, and they are a necessity. Other things include a fire extinguisher. This is one from the AA, and this is a good size one for a small fire, which you would hope would be a small fire if it was in this van. And a fire blanket, again, really useful in case of a small fire, especially whenever you have an oven. But yeah, these are really cheap to pick up, and you should not go traveling in your van without them. That is about it, we think. Yes. I think we've covered everything. Yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to drop a comment below. I'm happy to help. Yes, and Brad is going to write a blog post on this. Obviously, depending on when this video is watched, it could be done, it could not, but there will be a link in the description so you can check it out. And we'll also put a link to our van build series, so that if you are interested in how we got to this stage with the van, then you can check that out. Yeah, it's got like 13 different videos of our entire build, which if you're a beginner like us, you might find it quite useful. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with our adventures around the world. But for now, that's it. Bye. Have a great Christmas, everyone. Bye.